Holy Saturday. And in between bad news and good news, it's in between fear and hope, in between death and resurrection. Let us take some time and be in that place, in between.
There's silence, darkness, and death, sorrow one. In Jesus' Sabbath rest within the tomb. The Son of Man had given up his life. A stone had closed the Lord inside the tomb. The seed had fallen to the stone cold earth, and gently as the silence fell, the seed began to sprout its living shoot. As new life rose and into daylight sped, the light that since creation's birth has shone was hidden by the stone that closed it in. But with the burst of light that marked the shroud, the light of Christ's new light shone out again. The mouth that spoke from God's own depths his word was silenced by a face cloth on his head. But glorified he spoke the word anew. The word himself had risen from the dead. New growth now comes to those who stomp the sea, and those who quash the lamp now walk in light. Now those who silence God can Holy Saturday. We wait. It's the story of humanity. God calls us to leave our homes for a promised land, and we never own a single bit of it, except the plot we bought to bury our beloved. We see the Exodus, and then we wander in the wilderness. He anoints our head with oil as the next leader of the kingdom, and then we spend the next 15 years running for our lives before we're crowned. We're taken into exile and told we'll be there for generations. We're given the words of the prophets, and then we face 400 years of silence. I once heard Andy Gullahorn observe that much of our lives is Saturdays of waiting. We have tragic Good Fridays, and then we are left waiting. We're waiting for the scene change, for the train to move again, to wake from the ether. I sometimes wonder what Sabbath would have sounded like in ancient Israel. I imagine it would be quiet. There would be no rattle of cartwheels in the streets, no shouting of vendors in the market, no braying of donkeys on the roads. Of all the verses in Scripture about the week leading up to Jesus' resurrection, only 6 talk about what happened on the Sabbath. In Luke's telling of the story, the Sabbath gets half a verse, tacked on to the telling of Jesus' burial late on the day of preparation. On the Sabbath, they rested according to the commandment. It's only Matthew that gives any detail of what happened on that day. The chief priests and Pharisees went to Pilate with their concerns about grave robbers. I've lived near synagogues and have watched the faithful walk up the street, moving between shoppers and walkers, quiet in the midst of the bustle. That's what always surprises me, how quiet the families walking are as they go to worship. I rarely hear conversation. If they do speak to one another, it's in undertones. They stand out from the chatting shoppers, not only visually, but audibly. I wonder what the Sabbath after the crucifixion would have sounded like on the streets of Jerusalem. Following the shouting crowds of the day before, it probably seemed even more quiet than usual. In the silence, then, there rang the tramping of feet, the creak of leather armor, the rattle of swords and sheaths, and the pounding of spear handles hitting the ground every other step. A small group of soldiers had been ordered to guard a tomb on the outskirts of the city. And, sitting quietly in their homes on the Sabbath, the people would have heard the disturbance, surprisingly loud. They would have looked at each other and asked, "What is going on out there?" And some in the know may have said, "They're afraid that Jesus said he would rise again." But most would likely have shrugged their shoulders and gone back to their day of rest, little realizing that they stood in the quiet moment between 2 cataclysms which would change the world: the death and resurrection of the Son of God. I said to my soul, be still, and let the dark come upon you, which shall be the darkness of God. As in a theater, the lights are extinguished for the scene to be changed, with a hollow rumble of wings, with a movement of darkness on darkness. And we know that the hills and the trees, the distant panorama, and the bold, imposing facade are all being rolled away. Or as when an underground train in the tube stops too long between stations, and the conversation rises and slowly fades into silence, and you see behind every face the mental emptiness deepen, leaving only the growing terror of nothing to think about. Or when, under ether, the mind is conscious but conscious of nothing. I said to my soul, be still, and wait without hope. For hope would be hope for the wrong thing. Wait without love, for love would be love of the wrong thing. There is yet faith. But the faith and the love and the hope are all in the waiting. Wait without thought, for you are not ready for thought. So the darkness shall be light, and the stillness the dancing. Whisper of running streams and winter lightning, the wild thyme unseen and the wild strawberry, the laughter in the garden, echoed ecstasy, not lost, but requiring, pointing to the agony of death and birth. T.S. Eliot, Four Quartets, East Coker, Part 3. We can wait with fear. We can wait in worry. We can wait in regret. Or we can wait in faith. Wait in hope. Wait in love. We can wait in rest. So much of our lives is Saturdays of waiting. We have tragic Good Fridays, and then we are left waiting. But it only takes one Easter Sunday to redeem it all.
We wait, we trust, we love, we mourn, we grieve, we live. May you know the love of God, Creator, Redeemer, and Giver of life, today and always. Amen.